Welcome to the Charlie Kirk Show. Executive producer Andrew Kolvet here with Mikey McCoy. Chief of Staff Mikey McCoy. We're really excited about this next interview with a dear friend of ours, dear friend of the show, and just a great patriot. That would be Mike Cernovich. Mike, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you.
Yeah, you put out a tweet this weekend in regards to the No Kings protest that I thought 10 out of 10, one of the top thoughts that I saw floating around. So go ahead and put up 79. You said, they get to hold their protests without a care in the world. No snipers on buildings shooting at them. No masked thugs attacking them. Every media outlet fawning over them. Irony levels fit for a king. Mike, tell us what you were thinking there.
Yeah, well, what prompted that thinking was we take it for granted if you're a conservative or right wing. We take it for granted that we live a completely different life. Not to use too much language of therapy, but the trauma is so baked in that we don't realize that it's not normal. Well, wait a minute. I want to have an event. Immediately, I think, is the venue going to cancel? Are people going to call in threats? I need to talk to the venue owner first and brief him or her on this. Okay, we need armed security. Okay, where are people going to come in? And that's not normal, right? That's not normal. That's not how you're supposed to have to live in a so-called free and democratic society. Mm-hmm. And the people who make it so that we have to live like this, meanwhile, they get to walk around. I remember there was a scavenger hunt that Mandari, the guy running for New York City mayor, he had a scavenger hunt, and Cassandra Fairbanks tweeted out, wow, this is really cool. I wish the right did stuff like this. And that's when I was shaken out of the trauma that we all have to live under. And I go, we couldn't. Could you imagine if you wanted to hold a Charlie Kirk scavenger hunt in Phoenix, Arizona, even Phoenix? No, it would not be possible. There would be disruption, violence, attacks that couldn't happen. Meanwhile, a mayoral candidate who's taking an endorsement from an unindicted co-conspirator in a World Trade Center attack, they can go about their day and have all the joy in the world or all the fun in the world. The No Kings protesters can do whatever they want, but they want to act like they're the good guys and that somehow they're protesting against authoritarianism and fascism.
Yeah, I think it was such a striking tweet because I think it made me realize you bring up trauma. I mean, that's something very real to this show. I can tell you, Mikey was there when Charlie lost his life, when he was murdered. And we all do live with a trauma. Thankfully, I was not there. I'm super grateful for that, to be honest. And we do live with this trauma all the time. We don't even question it anymore. And you're so right. I've been getting, invited to speak at different events. So is Mikey. It's new experience for us, but instantly my head goes, how good's the security? Mm-hmm. How good's the security? And the fact that I have to think that is an absolute travesty, and you hit the nail right on the head, Mike.
And it's been this way from day one. There were images of the San Jose Trump rally where people are lined up and being chased down by mobs of savages. There was a Trump rally that was supposed to occur in Chicago, but rioting and violence and gang attacks made it so that Trump had to cancel a rally. That was one of the few rallies that had to be canceled. Everyone, and again, like we just we take it for granted because, blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. But I think that's all been taken a little bit too far, where we shouldn't have to live like this, right? And we have, because again, when you live in a situation where essentially dealing with mass abuse by the left, lawfare. Oh, which one of your friends? Tyler does never like to mention it. But, I've posted about it many times. He was indicted in one of those elector cases. People don't even know because our people don't want to call attention to it, right? To the injustice that they face. We have to do lawfare. Okay, gee, I wonder if Ricky Vaughn's going to go to jail. Okay, are they going to somehow to drag me into something? Okay, everybody, Posobiec, everybody's had these same conversations. Oh, if Biden wins, okay, well, have you had to talk to your kids yet about what happens when the bad guys come in from the Biden regime or the Kamala Harris regime and they just take your dad away? That's something that everybody has had to have that conversation, right?
Yeah.
And and then when you somebody like shakes you, which is what I was trying to do with that tweet, which is why I think it resonated with so many people, is when someone like shakes you, like, man, this isn't normal, right? That this hypervigilance isn't normal. This is the product of dealing with the Marxists, the Bolsheviks, the terrorists, and we've taken it for granted, and we shouldn't take it for granted. Now, what we have to do constructively to fight it is a different conversation altogether, though. But the first thing that must happen is the realization that, no, this is actually not normal. We shouldn't have to live this way.
Yeah. Well, and Mikey's got some thoughts on the Young Republicans tweets that are going around everywhere, and or the group chat, the leaked group chat. But I just want to show you this image first here, Mike. It's I think it's 67, and this was spotted, I believe, in Denver, and it says, Denver communists. So they just put up a booth, Denver communists. Charlie Kirk had it coming, changed my mind, and they're sitting there under a tent, like Charlie, where he was murdered, and they're sitting there putting up peace signs with their hands. They're not afraid that somebody's going to hurt them. They're not afraid that there's going to be a sniper on some building. They get to do that open, just absolutely vile behavior out in public.
And the second level of this, though, I had a companion tweet that didn't go as viral, but I think should have, is they only exist because of state protection. So for example, you've dealt with this at Turning Point. People will come in and kick over your table. The campus police say, well, what can you do? This, or other law enforcement will say, well, that's a civil matter, even though it's not. But they always go, oh, that's a civil matter. So apparently you're supposed to find them and sue them. But if one of our people went and kicked that over, police would lock hands, and the state power would be used immediately to bring down the full force of the law to destroy that person. And that's the anarcho-tyranny. That's the neo-Bolshevikism that we live under. And it couldn't exist without state power, because, frankly, if our people reacted to them the way they react to us, even to 10%, those people wouldn't be out in public. If someone just came over and kicked the table over and said, what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? They could do nothing. They could do nothing about it. There was that street fight that was so illustrative, where there was an event at the New York Republicans Club. And by the way, this matters way more than those dumb group texts, since everybody's talking about the New York Young Republicans, okay? Let's talk about a time there was an event. I think Gavin McInnes was there, Ann Coulter was there. Antifa showed up. They went to violently attack everyone who attended the event. Proud Boys showed up, and they provided safe escort to the attendees. The attendees leave. And then a group of Proud Boys are walking around. Antifa comes, attacks them. There's a mutual street fight, the Proud Boys versus Antifa. No one gets killed. No one uses brass knuckles. No one uses a baton. Just a good old-fashioned rough event. What happens? Most people don't know this. And the people who are crying most about those group texts and how we have to disavow people and we need to take a big moral stand, you can go check and see if they've ever talked about this, and they haven't. They haven't, because they're deceptors. They're demons. It's obvious what they're doing. And what happened was the Proud Boys got arrested, charged. Some of them went to prison for 5 to 7 years. Nobody in Antifa got charged or sent to prison. Again, there was violence brought on by the left street thugs, a right-wing reaction, although I wouldn't necessarily call the Proud Boys a right-wing, but we'll just use that false dichotomy. There was a reaction. The reaction had a mutual fight. Again, we're not talking them going after civilians. It was Proud Boys and Antifa. The Proud Boys win, and then state power comes down like a ton of bricks on the Proud Boys, and these young men go to prison, in some cases for 5 to 7 years. They had no hope in those rigged New York juries. And I didn't see anybody, me, a couple other people, Charlie talked about it before too, but very small minority of people said this is how they exist. Antifa doesn't exist without state power.
Yeah, it's a really important insight too. And I do think that our laws, our criminal justice systems are geared to see left-coded protest or violence as sort of an extension of the civil rights era, and they're geared to see right-wing protest or whatever as violent and illegal. And so the hammer gets dropped down on us unfairly. I think it's a good point. I'm going to tell you about Done with Debt real quick. When you're buried in credit card and loan debt, it's human nature to put it off and say, I'll deal with it later. If that's you, here's a hidden fact the debt strategy experts at Done With Debt shared with me. They discovered a little-known strategy that works in your favor. So they go after your debt aggressively right now before the year ends because they know which companies holding your debt are doing year-end accounting and need to cut deals, and they know which ones have year-end audits and need to get your debt off their books. So go to donewithdebt.com. Talk with one of their specialists for free. Visit donewithdebt.com, donewithdebt.com. You do not have to live this way. Go to donewithdebt.com. More with Mike Cernovich. We're going to go through the break. All right, we're back. We're going to take it through the breaks because Mike is just too much fun to talk to. Mikey, you got something you want to talk about here?
Yeah, I thought you said it well, Andrew. We have to live with the trauma of this every single day with what happened. And I thought Mike's tweet was just excellent about how these people for the rest of their lives, when they take to the streets, they don't have to worry about snipers, thugs, Antifa, and all the while the left media is fawning over them. When I step outside, I automatically check rooftops to see if there's a sniper, because that's something I have to live with for the rest of my life. Or when you go to an event, you ask them how good the security is. But then even more than that, you have these people publicly with signs and making motions to their neck with finger guns, and you have people going with a "Change My Mind, Charlie Kirk had it coming" signs. These are public statements that these people are making, yet you're going to try to draw some moral false equivalence to some YR out of context private group chat. I'm personally, I'm sick of it. And to defend Andrew a little bit, because he got this question if he's going to condemn it. If you're going to have to condemn these young people for private group chat that was leaked for out of context messages, you're going to have to condemn 1/5 of the college population for making off-color jokes in group chats. I'm sick of it. There is no moral equivalence between the left and the right when it comes to things like this. You guys are breeding political assassins, and on the right, we have leaked group chats. You have somebody running to be the top cop in one of the biggest states where our nation's capital happens to be, saying that he wants to see 5- and 7-year-olds die because they're bred little fascists. There is no moral equivalent here. There is not. And I'm sick of seeing them tie this back to young Republicans out of context group chats. And I thought your tweet was excellent, Mike. I thought it hit the nail right on the head.
Well said.
Yeah, thank you. And it's unfortunate that, I mean, to take things a different matter to a different level. Like I've told people, and I think now people more take it seriously. A lot of times people thought I was, using hyperbole or crank. And I said, look, man, if you're a conservative or right-wing political commentator, you have to train jiu-jitsu, you have to lift, you have to have a CCW, and people would look at me like I'm crazy, right? They would say, oh, that's crazy. And even some of the people going after the group texts would now we know that what they are and how they're deceivers, but they would lie and say, oh, Cernovich is always trying to promote militancy. And it was never about militancy. It was always about, this is just the way you have to live. You have to walk around, you have to look around, and somebody says your name, friend or foe. I had an event happen. I was walking back from New York, and a guy is across the street. He's like, Cernovich, and he runs across the street. And in that split second, I have to go in my mind, friend or foe. And he was a friend, and it was friendly and everything. It was great, actually. But that's our world, right? None of these people, the No Kings protests have to think like that. Somebody says their name and they're wondering, okay, is there about to be an altercation right now? Are things about to get a little bit real? Mm-hmm. If there is an altercation and I succeed in it, am I going to now have to deal with the Soros DA? Am I going to have to deal with an AG like in Virginia who wants to kill my children? What would he do to you if you're involved in an altercation and you're attacked? Is he going to go through everybody's tax records, file false criminal charges? Because if you kill a kid, you'll file false charges, right? That's what I think people are also missing out on, is not just the evil of what he said, but knowing that if that's what he said he would do is kill children, then why wouldn't he frame you for criminal charges? This is how we have to live. Meanwhile, you get to, you geezers get to go to their No Kings protests and walk around like they're doing something. And by the way, they're all COVIDians. They installed a de facto King Fauci, right? If you want to have a No Kings protest,
10 seconds,
then you would have protested Fauci. And that's how we live. So that's what I like, though, about what you guys were doing and Charlie was doing before it. Is the good news that
real quick, Mike. Sorry, we gotta welcome back National Radio. Hold that thought. We'll be right back. I want to tell you guys really quickly about Y Refi, the amazing people at Y Refi. We love them, and they are fantastic. They will take care of your private student loan debt if you have it. There's about $45 billion of that, which is labeled as distressed. So visit yrefi.com, YREFY.com, or call 888-YREFI34. If you have private student loan debt, they can help you out, and they've been helping Turning Point out. They've been helping the show out, and we so appreciate them. Saw them last week. Tremendous people. You can trust them. You can work with them. YRefi.com. Had to get that in real quick, but listen, Mike, you're making some amazing points here because, to Mikey's point, it's a terrible reality. But, yeah, when I walk outside in certain situations, I look at the rooftops now. I look at the rooftops. And these people, so I find myself on a stage at this News Nation Cuomo town hall, and this little, punk from Midas Touch or whatever comes up and says, do you disavow the Young Republican group chat? And I'm thinking to myself, I don't know these people. I don't know if they're worth, throwing a bone to, given the, but I'm sorry, my instinct is no longer to say, hey, I'm going to condemn and ruin this young man's life for saying something stupid. I'm not going to say it wasn't stupid. It's not something that I text privately, but I'm also, I'm not 20 anymore. And these, I have no idea the context. Were they all just jokes? Was it whatever? But here's my point, is that my friend just got killed in cold blood by apparently a left-winger that had Antifa slogans on the bullet casings. And they are out in the streets proudly, without any shame, without any, sense of, hey, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this makes me a terrible human, celebrating the murder of my friend. And so I'm put in a position where I have to condemn something that was said in private that was probably a bad joke. And meanwhile, they're not even willing to condemn their own side that is glorifying the murder of an innocent man. And so, yeah, there is no moral equivalency to your point, Mikey. And it's just a shocking reality that we have to live. I feel like every year there's this new outrage of how can this be normal? How can this be normal? How can they force millions of people to wear masks and get a shot that they don't want to get, or they can't go eat, they can't eat at a restaurant, they can't work their job, or they can't work in the military, and then the next year there's something even more insane. They try and kill President Trump, they kill Charlie, and then they glorify it in the streets, and then we're the ones that are bad because we're not willing to condemn some young people in New York that I don't even know, and I don't even know the context of the statements they made.
And by the way, we're under no moral obligation to disavow anyone or anything.
Correct.
Right?
I'm not going to play their game, Mike. I wasn't going to play their little disavow ritual. I wasn't doing it.
I've always told people, I go, look, this is politics, right? In politics, you have to abide by the rules that the other side does, or you're going to lose your lunch. This isn't church, right? This isn't church. And something that I've also noticed about the disavowal game, and it frustrates me when people who claim to be Christians really ride this high horse on this, is I know for a fact from reading the Bible that if you take the Christian approach to the group text, you would be reaching out to the young men and young women and saying, can we talk about how this looks, or what led you to this? This condemnation is fire and brimstone. No offense to you guys, but it's fire and brimstone Protestantism. And that's why you're seeing a lot of this reaction. Is politics isn't for fire and brimstone preaching. Politics is a social construct involving two competing sides. And if everybody doesn't abide by the same rules, and one side says, oh, we're taking the high ground, then you're going to lose, and you're going to lose your country, and you're going to lose everything. And then what do you have? Right? Nothing. And then they go, well, it's principle. The principle, the Christian principle. The Christian principle is, if you're concerned about this stuff, you reach out to people. You say, brother, I'm praying for you. I saw this message and I think you're living a glib life. I know that you didn't mean it in a hateful way, but your approach to the world is shallow, and you're not living with the kind of gravitas and sincerity and seriousness that you should as a man. That's what you do. So the whole again, conversation's a distraction, because no matter how you look at it, from whatever perspective you look at, you realize it's fake outrage, and it's people doing the bidding of the left.
Yeah.
And again, people, if you want to disavow these people, do it in a month. You don't have to join the left when they're doing it. You don't have to do it on their timeline.
No,
and if you are doing it on their timeline, then the question is, what master are you serving?
That's right. Well said. Mike Cernovich, you are a important thinker in this time. You have seen it all. You've been through these battles back and forth for years. That's why we wanted to have you on today, because you just have a perspective on this stuff that the context is important, and you've seen how it's evolved over the years. So Mike Cernovich, thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for being a great friend to Charlie all those years.
Have a great day.
Awesome. You too. All right, so up next is Mikey McCoy's debut interviewing on the Charlie Kirk Show. Governor Glenn Youngkin. This is
It's a good start.
It's a good start.
Thank you, Andrew.
Let's see how it goes. Mikey McCoy's back with Governor Glenn Youngkin next.